What's up guys, it's your boy Rox and you're back again with another video, and like promised, like I said last time, I will be making the ranked gun video right now. After I looked into, there's actually just a few, and these are my personal top 5, so it's not like I did care about stats a bit, but in the end, it's my objective opinion, so if you disagree with something, that's completely fine. You can use something else. It's just how I would say what the top 5 best AR to this date are. Anyways, let's get right into top 5. Alright, so for the top 5, we have the good old AK-47, and I picked it as top 5 because it has probably the lowest RPM amount. So the AK-47 has 17 to 42 damage with 470 RPM, and why I chose it as 5th instead of like something else like the M13 or something, which is way lower damage. Well, we'll get to that in a second, but for now, it has decent recoil. It's actually not that bad. It reloads quite fast as well. It could reload a tiny bit faster, but the damage is really good. From what I've seen, this game, it actually does a decent amount of damage, but it could do more. The recoil is alright, but on range it could get a bit tricky. Here you can see the recoil pattern, even if you care. It's almost like, it's kind of like the CSGO pattern, if you know what I mean, like the 7 pattern. So all you have to do is go right and then go down, and then you can see you have a relatively tight spread. But why I chose it as top 5th is very simply on range. In close range, this thing probably demolishes everything, but in longer range gunfights, it could potentially just be worse, because the low RPM kind of makes it useless and just gets outperformed by pretty much every other gun that has similar damage and way higher RPM. And yes, that's why I chose the AK-47 as 15, a solid pick. Alright, so then we have top 4, aka the M13. I think everyone remembers when it first got released. It was pretty good. Then obviously all this weapon rebalancing happened, and then it just kind of got into this awkward position it is right now. It does 12 to 16 damage, so it has relatively consistent damage, and has 810 RPM, which is by far the highest RPM of any AR we had so far. You can see it shoots really fast. The problem I have with this gun and why it isn't higher is because the high RPM. Even though it has higher RPM, it kinda is useless, because the recoil, which is literally it's kind of an awkward recoil pattern. And by the way, this is the optimized recoil pattern with muzzle brake and angled grip, so you can't really get a meta thing. I tried it even not with the stubby grip, but the problem with this is the recoil is too inconsistent. And it's too random. Like there aren't really any recoil patterns you can use to like control it right. So you just cannot pull down like this. But why I chose it over the AK-47 is also very simple. It's just more consistent. If you just single fire it on long range, you can outperform about anything because it has high RPM and allows for higher burst fire. That's about everything about the M13. I would say it's bit below average, but it still rocks if you have it. Just use something, but instead of the M13, use our top 3. And the top 3 obviously is the ASL, one of my favorite guns. And I chose this, and now we're actually getting into the territory where the guns are actually getting pretty viable. So you can pretty much use any of the top 3 guns. And why I chose it as top 3 is because the recoil isn't too bad, especially on maps like Nightlife and Aim City. They're not that bad. And it has really good stats. It does 13 to 20 damage and has 750 RPM, which kind of makes it a mix of the AK and the M13 with the damage and the recoil, damage and fire rate. And you can see it has not the bad of a recoil pattern. The problem with the ASL is the reload. It reloads like a snake. And that's also a criteria I ranked the ready guns in the reload time. Like, obviously a gun with high damage is nice, but if you need 5 seconds to reload, it's gonna absolutely like bring you out of your flow and just kinda can you ruin your rounds when you just are behind a corner and just trying to reload, and then someone cops you and you just still haven't reloaded. But anyways, it's really good. Long range capabilities is also decent. If you just like tap fire again, it kind of goes to the right a bit. But that's about everything I have to say about the ASL. It's absolutely good. You can use it, but if you have any of the other top 2 guns, use those. And the top 2 we have here is the AK-103. And that will probably be sparking conversation. What's better, the AK-103 or the ASL? I chose the 103 because it does 23 to 42 damage, so it has quite a higher damage, but the RPM is lower. Instead of 750, it has 510 RPM. Why I chose it is obviously because it has a lower RPM, you have a way higher damage, and it's way easier to control on longer range. You can see I can actually hold my crosshair buff this pretty easily. It also reloads way faster than the ASL with only like around a 2.5 3-second reload, which is actually not that bad. It can absolutely destroy about anything you want. And it's actually a solid, very solid, very solid pick, I would say. It's still the gun I would use personally, but if you have it, you can try it, give it a try. I find it's actually pretty fun to use. It's actually very satisfying using a lower fire rate gun, and you can, and this is around the territory where you can around like 3-tap your head. Like 3-tap head enemies. It's the same with the AK, but the AK is just a worse version of the AK-103. Anyways, we see us right at top 1. And for the top 1, big surprise, it's obviously the AK-5C before it got nerfed. Since I think everyone knows, I think some experienced it as well, the AK-105 had a bad nerf that happened to it, but it somehow is apparently not really in the game. But I've experienced it, so just be careful for that. That's why I have actually 2 guns in top 1. So the first obviously is the AK-5C. It's actually so ridiculous how hard this gun outperforms anything. It does 26 to 50 damage, which is ridiculous. It just does so much damage compared with a 485 fire rate, which is basically a combination. It's basically in the around the middle of every AR I listed so far, and it's actually just ridiculous how good this weapon is. And besides, the recoil is pretty much non-existent with this thing. This thing reloads way too fast in my opinion. Like, look. And you're done. And with this, you can add this to your lobbies. If you have it, use it, abuse it however you want. It's absolutely ridiculous. I already made a video on it. I'll link it right now. But just check this out if you want to know more about the AK-5C and how it performs in-game. It hasn't changed yet. And why I chose 2 weapons is, if the AK-5C decides to get nerfed over some time, like in the next week or something, you can just use one of my favorite guns, the Galil. And why I chose the Galil is also very simple. It has 22 to 31 damage at 510 RPM, so it has a bit higher RPM. The problem is the recoil, what some say. The recoil is really wonky, but I have a very simple tip for that. Since it's actually a pretty decently high RPM gun, you can just tap fire, and the recoil never exists. Like, as long as you tap fire like this, you can see, and it still kills someone, and it would still kill someone in like 4 shots. And close range, it would probably kill them in like 3 shots or something. So you can easily just like tap, and you can see it kinda never misses as long as you don't over tap it. So the recoil better, you can see how fast I can fire this. But why I didn't choose the Galil over the AK is also very simple. It's because the reload is way too long. As you can see, the reload and obviously the damage is a bit too long. But if the AK-5C gets nerfed, just use this instead. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed this little video of me. I try to upload daily from now on, or like almost daily. So I hope this helped you out, guys, to find what the best AR for you is. It's always still the AK-5C, just use the AK-5C. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any other guns in the description, I'd like to discuss this with you guys. So anyways, have a nice day or good night. We'll see you in the next one. Ciao, ciao.